Hello and welcome to another fry update. So in this fry update we're going to be looking at the little fishes in this tank. So what's changed? Well, I've changed the food. I've actually run out of the fry food now and they're now on a regular 3mm pellet, just a koi pellet, which is actually fantastic for me because they're actually not polluting the water as much and it's not giving the filters such a hard time, which I'm really pleased with. They are eating extremely well on this food. On the fry food they just sort of eat a little bit and then sort of sink to the bottom and sort of digest it. On this food you can literally feed them every couple of minutes and they seem a lot happier, a lot more active on this food. Some of the fish in this tank are really quite big. If you look carefully, some of them are fair size. And then again, some of them are quite small still. So I've got a bit of a plan for the smaller ones, which we'll get to in a bit. But really I haven't done an update in a while because there's not been much of a change. Obviously I've stopped feeding the fry food and they've grown a bit, but I haven't moved them out of this tank and I haven't done it, and I've been wanting to move them to a much bigger tank, but as of yet I haven't been able to. So that's what they're looking like in this tank, and I'm going to catch some of the smaller ones and put them in another tank. But again, they're actually doing quite well in this tank. I think that's why so many of them are still alive. The water quality of this tank is pretty good to say how many fish there are in it. The filtration system's doing an incredibly good job, and I think that's what's keeping them all alive and all happy and all eating well. However, I do believe that if there were much fewer ones in this tank, they'd have more growth rate in the bigger ones, so perhaps having so many in the tanks sort of stunting the growth and potential of some of the larger ones. Oh, and another update on this fry tank as well is you might notice it's a bit brighter than usual. I've put a really powerful light above the tank, so that's a 50-watt LED, and I've done that because I had these two 10 watts at the back and it just didn't seem to be enough. The algae around the sides of the tank was dying back, and especially it being winter as well, so there's less sunlight. But this tank's only sort of near this window. It doesn't actually get much direct sunlight at all, so I put this big light on it to see if it'd help algae growth and maybe help the fish's colours, because being indoors the actual tank seems to really affect the fish's colours in the long term. But getting them back in an outdoor tank does bring the reds out. Now thinking maybe, because if you look at them, the reds are a little bit dull even with this light on, whereas if I got them in my outdoor tank that had direct sunlight, I'm pretty sure they'd be a lot deeper red. I don't know how that works on fry, but we'll see when they get in that tank. They'll probably mature with a lot better colours than they are now. But I thought I'd try a much brighter light as well. And I'm quite pleased with the algae growth, but maybe it's not made much of a difference to the colours of the fish. So yeah, let's catch some of the small ones and I'll show you what I'm going to do with them. So I've been picking some little fishes out. These are the ones I've picked. I literally just picked them because they're small. That's 100% the only reason. There's one bent fish in there, but I'm not worried about that in there. I'm going to still put him in tank, not bothered, and see how we get on with those ones. There are obviously probably a lot more smaller ones in there. It's just hard to catch them, and actually it surprised me how big they are. I've literally just been netting them, just been scooping them up. That's how I thought. See if I can get a few. Have a look at some. And they're a fair size, some of them. There's a couple that are quite a decent size, but which I'm quite pleased with actually. I didn't kind of realise how big they actually were, some of them. And the colours are looking quite good as well when you're looking at them up close. And without the net on top of this tank, you can see them a bit more clearly. They've got quite good patterns on them, some of them, and it'll be interesting to see how they all develop. But obviously I hadn't took really any out, particularly taking say a dozen out of a tank of however many there is in here is not really that effective, but it might allow these fish to grow a little bit better, and we'll see. So I'll show you where I'm going to put them now. So here we go, this is where the little fish have ended up, and yeah, they're pretty, hopefully they'll get settled in, and the filter will mature on this tank, and we'll see how they do. Obviously I put him in a few days ago. He's a bit bent and can't swim very well, but he's actually quite a happy little fish. I've been feeding him and he's been eating, but so I'll just sort of let him see how it goes. There's 23 fish in there, and look okay to say they've just been put in. The tank's temperature's slightly warmer than the other tanks. I'll have to get used to that for a minute, but apart from that. But I'm hoping that, see, some of the fish in that tank are 5-inch. I caught a couple that were pushing 5-inch in that tank, whereas these are all like 2-inch, something like that at most. So I'm hoping that in here they'll have a better chance of getting food that they want, and we can just see how they get on. And there's some nice little fish, bit bland colours really, but you know, some of them might work out like these. Blacker ones probably work out a bit better, but we'll see. So here we are back with this tank, and you can really tell that taking out them 23 has made a lot of difference. Now there's a lot of fish in this tank. I'd love to know exactly how many there are in this tank. Obviously I've got 1,000 fry, and I know of about 200 or so that have died. But obviously that still don't mean a lot. The 1,000's not an accurate number. It could have been give or take, so I've no idea how many there are in there. And I think we've actually got to a point where some of them have been eaten, and obviously I wouldn't have known that they've died because they've just been eaten. But I imagine there's quite a lot of fish in there. I'm not sure exactly how many, but there's definitely a lot of fish in that tank. But they're doing well. The ammonia nitrate, nitrate's all pretty fine. The filter's doing really well. They've got quite a bit of freshwater trittle on this tank to help as well. But unfortunate side effect to that, it keeps the water a little bit cooler because it's not a heated tank. But it's fine, they're all eating well, they're all happy. The temperature's about 16-17 degrees Celsius, so they're doing alright. And I'm hoping that at some point, I've got another 3 of those tanks, so if that works out really well with them 23 fish, I might put some more in that tank and then start up the other 2 tanks and have all the smaller ones in them. And let the bigger ones I'll probably put in my other 1,000-gallon tank, but I don't want an awful lot of them in there, so I'll probably pick out a select few to go in that tank that can really grow on and be heated at that point, and then the rest will probably just stay in here and see how they get on. But yeah, they seem pretty happy. They're eating incredibly well, and I'm really pleased with them. But I did not expect there to be this many fish still in this tank. Anyway, I'm going to put the cover on, stop hassling them, and let me get back to it. So I've given the other fish a day to see how they get on in that tank. We'll have a look at them in a minute. What I've just done is caught a few more. So I've decided that 23 is not really enough. They're not very happy, so I'm going to try a few more. The water quality seems okay in that tank, so I'm going to keep on with changing it probably every other day. 50% water change in the indoor tank, and I'm really pleased that I've sort of managed to net a few of these fish. And in fact, you can see these 2 here. These 2 are funny little fish. They're so sociable. It don't, like, I've just upset them by catching them fish, and these ones are just not bothered. They'll still come up. I really need to keep that fish. I absolutely love that fish. I don't know why, but but he's such a happy little sociable fish, and it doesn't matter what the other ones are doing, he'll always come to you. But anyway, I've noticed quite a few of them are scaleless, which I'm not upset about, but it's obviously a bit different. I don't have many scaleless fish, not for any particular reason, but so it'd be interesting to see how they develop. But I think very, very shortly I'm going to select the larger ones out of this tank, and they're going to go into my 1,000-gallon quarantine. But yeah, it's been fabulous actually getting to handle them and seeing them really close up. Some of the colours are actually really good. Some of them are, there's quite a number in there. They're good quality colours. No, the smaller ones that I've caught are a bit bland, a bit dull. I don't know if that's because they haven't grown very much, but we'll see. Some of the black ones are really nice. I quite like them. But yeah, let's put them in the indoor tank. So there we go, there's now 40 in that tank. Actually, it just occurred to me, putting these fish in this tank, that I don't actually know when they develop scales. So I just mentioned that they all seem to be scaleless, except for really some of the larger ones. All of these are scaleless. I've just noticed putting them in. So I don't know when they actually develop scales. Maybe they just haven't got to that point yet. That's kind of interesting to see how they work out. I noticed all the colours. The colours on the red ones are bland. That is something I always get in that quarantine tank. Fish that spend any time in that quarantine tank always end up with super bland colours. So I don't think that's anything to do with the fish, its age or anything like that. I think when they go into my 1,000-gallon tank that actually gets sunlight on it quite a lot, I think the colours will really come out and they'll look fantastic. So there's now 40 fish in there, and the 2 that are bent are still in there. They're eating well. They seem fairly happy. They can't swim particularly well, but I'm happy with them at the minute. And we'll see how they get on. I've been feeding these fry food. The other ones aren't getting fry food, and they're getting normal 3mm pellets. But these are getting fry food purely because it sinks, and hopefully it'll help them grow a little bit. In fact, there's a little bit in this corner here that they haven't really eaten, but hopefully they'll grow a little bit. We'll see. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, then please like it. If you want to see more videos like this, then please feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, then please put them below, and I shall see you in the next video, which will probably move in the larger fish to the bigger quarantine tank.